Hey guys, Ricky here coming at you with another gorgeous landscape tutorial. Here you see this raw image of the Olympic Mountains in Washington State. This was on a recent hike I did with my family, so there's no tripod setup. This is handheld. And just a peek at my settings here, you will see I shot this at f2.8 1/2000th of a second and ISO 100. I was using my 24 to 70 millimeter lens, and contrary to popular belief, even at 2.8, I got a great amount of detail, which you can see here in the mountains, in the trees, through the fog. It's pretty good, and I'm very happy with that. You will also notice that I severely underexposed this photo because this was near golden hour, almost golden hour-ish. So there was sunlight coming through right into the fog, and I really, really didn't want to sacrifice any detail by blowing out any bit of the fog. Just because it was moving so fast, the light was changing, and we were just hiking along a ridge line. My kids were running around me, so that's why you see the underexposure. Sure, I could have taken a succession of HDR style images with underexposed, add exposure, and overexposed, but with the amount of photos I tend to take and edit, I really like to go for the quickest, best option that I can. And I can still save a lot of detail in this photo without sacrificing quality and without any issues. So without further ado, let's figure out where to start here. Let's start by looking at the histogram. You'll see on the left here we have the blacks. You'll see it's quite dark because it's underexposed. And I really, to improve the quality and look of this photo, I really need to balance out my darks and my whites. So we will get through that here. If you're looking for a place to start and you're really, really not sure, auto tone here is the best option. It can be a little overwhelming though as well if you're just like, whoa, that is really not what I wanted. And there's a lot here that I don't like. Lightroom tends to overexpose, but of course it's something we can't fix. Another option, if you don't want to auto tone and you're just like, I still need a place to start, I'm not sure, we don't want to mess with exposure because we know that Lightroom likes to overexpose a little bit, but let's go ahead and adjust a few things here. Just double click on your, here we go. Shift and double click, and that will hold down shift, there we go, and just click on these and it will adjust them for you. Perfect. Again, it's still not perfect, but if you just need a starting point, that's a good option. And then if you're like, oh, I don't really like that, but I don't want to take the time to scroll, just hit shift again, or don't hit shift, double click it, and it'll go right back. So shift, double click to adjust it, just a double click to take it right back to zero. Really fun, easy tool. But I did like the way those whites kind of looked, so let's go ahead and push shift and double click, and we'll see how that goes. It also works for the temp and the tint, which that isn't bad. It's a little warmer than I would like, so we will obviously go through and still make corrections based on specific needs here. This was shot around golden hour, so I do want to bring the warmth up just a touch. I really want a good balance of warmth and the greens from the trees and the blue from the far off mountains, just because it looks so incredible, and there's a good range of colors, a good range of light, contrast, darks, you name it. I feel like this photo really has a lot going for itself. I'm adjusting the exposure. Before I do any more, there's one thing I'm already noticing that I forgot that's bothering the crap out of me. And we're going to go down to lens corrections, and we're going to enable or select these two tools here, because wow, look at what a difference that makes. These options here take away the natural vignetting of your lens and just provide a better quality photo in the end. I can't even edit without it. Drives me crazy. And I can usually notice the vignette on most photos afterward just because it's something I do so often. So yeah, it's incredible what that does. But now it's pretty bright. I do want to keep it pretty well exposed because there's a lot of detail here and there were a lot of darks, and you can see now with the histogram we're edging on a lot more bright whites here than we want. But instead of adjusting just the exposure, let's go ahead and fix some of the contrast too. And because we have a good amount of things happening here, I really want to have a bit of contrast between all the layers. Let's go ahead and drop some highlights because that fog is just, it's looking bright. It's going to do our best on that. Bring up some shadows to save some detail in the trees. Normally I wouldn't do quite as much, but you know, we have some things working for us here. We're going to bring down the whites though because I really don't want the fog too blown out. But we'll save some detail as we go. We adjust a little bit of clarity, bring up some vibrance. Sometimes the colors look so dull and flat. Not always. I typically would not adjust this very much, but in a landscape, I really feel like sometimes you have to let the color pop. And here you can just see how subtle it all is, but enough to be like, oh, gorgeous. There's light. It's looking great. I still wouldn't mind saving some more highlights, so let's go ahead and save a little bit more here. And I'm going to do that because I also want to bring the pop of light back into the rest of the photo. And so I know that seems a little kind of counterproductive, but look at that range of contrast of light and dark that we're starting to get. And as you can see in the histogram, we're starting to find sort of some balance. I think it's going to always, like, this is probably the best the histogram is going to look as far as balance between lights and darks because we have such bright cloud and fog coverage and then the shadows of the trees below. There's really no way around that. I still want to balance, and had I used a neutral density filter, maybe I could have gotten that without having to make the adjustments, but hey, this is what I'm working with, so I like this quite a bit. Let's go ahead and just adjust some of the colors here just to kind of play around, see what our options are, see what that does for us. I want to bring up some warmth, take away a little bit of the brightness in the greens, a little bit of the brightness of the blues. You really just kind of want to mess with these until you get to the areas that you like and what looks good for you. And to me, this is starting to look a little better balanced, something that is more appealing to my eye, and that's what matters. You want it to look good for you. And yeah, so let's make a few more adjustments here. And they're also subtle. Sometimes it can be hard to tell exactly you know, what are we going for? What do we want? But if you're really not sure and you need to make bigger adjustments, you can do that. You can't see a huge shift here, but if you look in the fog, there is some color changing happening there. It's not a lot. It doesn't seem like it matters a whole lot, but I mean, it's really up to your eye. So, you know, take it to one extreme to the other to kind of see that balance. And here, you see now that looks a bit more balanced. See now it looks much darker and a bit brighter. So, always personal choice, but you work with what you have, or with what your preference is. I like to take my highlights always over to this region, and that's just because I like the highlights. You can get away with them being cooler because I like my shadows to be quite a bit warmer, so that the photo is always erring on the side of warmth, because warmth means life, and it always just gives a really nice just, you know, feeling of you know, it's very inviting, it's warm, it's attractive, and it tends to look really good in my opinion. This is starting to look a little more yellow green than I like, but we're going to keep going and make some more adjustments. Here we have, there's nothing here that I really need to adjust. Lens corrections are set. Go through, and then down to my next favorite point is the calibration option. And this to me was a game changer in a lot of editing, especially with presets or with color casts that were really intense. And now you can see we kind of have a yellow-green color cast happening here. And instead of going through and messing with those greens again, I can just adjust them a little bit here and get some warmth out of the photo, and kind of just find this fun balance in the coloring. Again, it's always going to be a personal preference in what you like, but I'm really liking the way this is looking. So this is looking pretty good to me. I really want that golden hour look. I really want it to feel warm, but I also want it to look, you know, and I always say this, an enhanced version of the real thing. I want you to look at this and be like, that's amazing. Yes, that's what I want to go there. I want to see that. Uh, and so I love this. This to me is just, this is great. I want to go back. I want to be in that again. I love the texture. I love the colors. So I hope that you found this helpful. I hope that this was useful to you. One other thing I did want to mention, something that didn't really bother me too much, but this little yellow sign here, I can see how that can be a little bothersome. It's not a huge deal, but let me just show you here in Lightroom. You don't have to take this over to Photoshop if you don't want to. Take this spot removal tool and just scroll down to get it to about the size you want. We'll go ahead and take out this little piece next to it. Lightroom will move it to where it thinks it's the best option, and oftentimes it will be pretty spot on. This is also kind of a rough spot because there's kind of a weird looking side road over here, but the fog is making it look pretty surreal. It doesn't look, it's like what's happening over here, but that's okay. I don't necessarily love that, but it does the trick. I could take it to Lightroom and fix that really easy, but here we can do a better job. But you know, just a quick, easy little spot removal. Sometimes that works better in other photos. This one kind of has some specific detail. I don't know if I'd use it, leave that for my final image, but it really just looks like there's fog kind of coming in through here messing around. And actually, that might even just be fog and not another road, but whatever. So yeah, there you have it. There's my edited version, taking this landscape from this to this and giving you kind of a wow factor, and saving those highlights, letting the fog really shine because it was too good to miss. Another option, if you really want to save more of that, which I don't here, is using this dehaze tool, which I love to use on the photos that are really intense with fog, whether you want to bring it out more or not. I will actually use more of a spot correction for more of that, but if you are not familiar with the dehaze tool, I definitely suggest that you play with it a little bit, especially if you have fog or you need to bring out some interesting detail with light. This is a fun option to consider. So anyway, I hope that inspired you. I hope that helped a bit, and get out there and shoot, and I'll see you guys in the next video.